Hello and welcome to Sleepy Scientist. I'm glad you're here. Whether you've had a long day, a busy mind, or you simply love falling asleep to the sound of science. Tonight we're taking a journey into the deepest mystery the cosmos has to offer, not just far away, but inward into the velvet abyss, where even light forgets how to return. Imagine drifting through the black silence between stars, your body light the air around you still. Ahead, something pulls not with urgency, but with a soft invitation. A shadow upon space darker than darkness itself. The entrance to a black hole. Before we begin, I'd love to know where in the world are you listening from, and what time is it there as you drift off into tonight's journey. If you enjoy these sleepy explorations, I'd be so grateful if you gave the video a little like and tap that subscribe button. It helps more sleepy scientists like you find their way here, and it means I can keep making more of these journeys for you now. The black hole doesn't rush you. It waits, patient still. Massive beyond comprehension, yet quiet as a whisper. You float at the edge of its realm, the event horizon, the invisible boundary beyond which not even light can escape. But you're not afraid. The pull is gentle like the weightless tug of a dream you're ready to enter. You drift forward slowly until gravity normally so polite begins to change its tone. Not harsh, just insistent. The very fabric of space is curved here, not like a sheet, but like a spiral drawn in velvet ink. You feel yourself gliding inward, and as you do, light from behind you bends around to meet your eyes. The stars smear across your vision like streaks on glass. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to fall forever, to move faster than the clock can tick? That's what's happening now. The moment you cross the event horizon, time starts to behave. Strangely, to someone watching from the outside, if they could see through the distortion, they'd say your descent slows, stretches, almost pauses. As though you were suspended at the edge of the black hole frozen in time. But for you on this side of the veil, everything moves forward. Softly, inevitably. The stars behind you fade. The light can no longer catch up. In this quiet cocoon of gravity, you're sealed away from the universe. And yet oddly, there's no jolt, no crash, no sudden shift. The boundary was crossed without even a sigh. Inside the black hole space is no longer directional in the way you remember. In normal life, forward is forward, down is down. But here, every path now points inward, not because you're being pushed or pulled, but because space itself is curled inward like petals closing on a black rose. Even your thoughts begin to feel different. Not slower, just deeper, like you've stepped into a timeless dream. The silence is not empty. It hums faintly with the presence of mass, the collapsed remains of a star, now compressed into a point smaller than a grain of sand, yet millions or even billions of times more massive than your sun. You begin to wonder what happens to that mass. Where does it go? Is it still a thing or a place? A knot in the fabric of reality, or something else entirely? Questions float around you like feathers in slow air. You reach for one, hold it, let it turn. And as you fall, your speed grows, not in the way you know, but gravitationally, as if you're being pulled into the deepest well in the universe. The laws of physics begin to bend. The distance to the center gets smaller, and yet your velocity, your acceleration, your inner sense of motion becomes unmeasurable. But there's no up, no down, no wind, no flame. Only the steady quiet of descent, like sliding slowly through silk. Here, gravity is not just a force, it is the curvature of space-time itself. Imagine a bowling ball on a trampoline. Now imagine the trampoline is made of invisible rules that govern everything. How matter moves, how time ticks, how space breathes. You're riding those rules, and they are guiding you to a place no one has ever returned from. But you're not afraid, just curious. After all, this isn't destruction, it's transformation. What will you become on the other side of understanding? The fall deepens. You continue your gentle plunge, past the point of no return, held not by ropes or engines, but by the slow, inevitable embrace of gravity, a kind of celestial lullaby, pulling you inward, inward still. You're surrounded now by something more than darkness. This is a place where space itself is bending, where gravity has been freed from its usual restraint. Back home on Earth, gravity is a courteous force. It holds your feet to the ground, guides raindrops to puddles, keeps moons loyal to planets. But here it becomes something else entirely. It's not just a pull, it's a transformation. It shapes everything, including your experience of time. Let yourself imagine it in this realm, near the black hole time and space switch personalities. Time, once the steady beat of your watch or the rhythm of your breath, begins to stretch. And space, usually open and inviting, begins to squeeze inward. You glance down, though down is no longer meaningful, and feel the pull increasing. Every centimeter closer to the center increases gravity's grip. And it doesn't just pull on you, it pulls on your time. According to relativity, gravity slows time. The stronger the gravity, the slower the clock. So here time is sluggish, heavy, syrupy. If someone far away could somehow watch your descent, they'd see you moving like a figure trapped in amber, slowed to a crawl. But to you inside the experience, everything feels smooth, continuous. Time still ticks, but on a private clock. You may begin to wonder, what is gravity really doing here? Is it a force, a shape, a presence? And the answer, whispered softly by Einstein's theory of general relativity, is gravity is the warping of space-time by mass. The black hole, born from the collapse of a massive star, has curved the universe around it so completely that it has formed a kind of funnel, in reality, a well with no bottom. You are now sliding down that funnel, not falling in space, but through space-time itself. What does that even mean? Imagine tossing a marble across a flat tabletop. It rolls straight and true. Now imagine placing a heavy ball in the center of a trampoline. Toss the marble again, and it curves around the depression. The heavier the ball, the deeper the dent, and the more the marble's path bends. A black hole is that dent taken to the extreme. It's a place where the curve becomes infinite. You are no longer riding on top of space. You're inside its folds, wrapped in its slow turn. The black hole doesn't pull you the way a magnet pulls iron. It simply warps the path so completely that all directions point inward. It's not gravity chasing you. It's gravity redefining the map. And as you drift further, strange things begin to happen. Light from the universe behind you, once so clear and sharp, twists into a circle. If you look around, you might even glimpse the back of your own head in a ring of curved starlight, like space has become a mirror folding in on itself. Even more astonishing, your body and brain still function normally. You don't feel crushed, not yet. You're passing through what scientists call the outer region of the black hole, where gravity's grasp is tight, but not instantly fatal. Still, you can't help but ask, where does this end? Because somewhere up ahead, hidden at the core, is something so extreme that our physics begin to fail. A point of unimaginable density. A place where all the mass has collapsed into a single spot, perhaps infinitely small, infinitely dense. The singularity. But for now, it is far off. Ahead of you, time continues its slow distortion. Gravity deepens its hum. Space tightens around you like a whispering shell. And you begin to feel something else. The black hole is not just bending paths, it's deciding reality. Clocks lose meaning. Rulers stretch and fold. What is near and what is far becomes difficult to define. Inside this domain, physics becomes poetry, and every motion is a metaphor. You drift through a realm where gravity is no longer a background player, it is the conductor of the entire performance. How do you feel knowing you are moving through a place where even light so fast, so free, has no escape? Does it make you feel small, or perhaps part of something larger, something fundamental? You are now among the few in the universe who have entered the heart of this mystery, a place where gravity has shed its chains and speaks in pure geometry. It molds time like clay. It curves light like ribbon. It enfolds everything, even your questions. And still it welcomes you deeper. The pull continues not with urgency, but with inevitability. You are no longer falling towards something. You are falling into it. The edge is behind you now. The event horizon, that one-way veil that separated you from the universe, is only a memory. If you tried to look back, you'd see nothing. No stars, no past, no way out. Everything familiar has been sealed outside. Inside this quiet, airless space, there's only forward, inward, deeper. You might think the moment you crossed the event horizon, the world would shift violently. But it didn't. It felt like nothing at all, like stepping through an invisible curtain. That's because the laws of physics didn't break, they just began to bend in ways you're not used to. And now, here in the stillness, you're beginning to notice it. This isn't ordinary movement. It's not like flying or swimming or falling from a cliff. It's more like being pulled down a river that is made of space itself, and that river is speeding up the closer you get to its source. A smooth acceleration, no jolts, no wind, no sound. You ask yourself, where is this river taking you? And why does it feel like time is misbehaving? Out here beyond the edge, the concept of time becomes slippery. Imagine wearing a watch that ticks at a regular pace. You glance at it. Tick, tick, tick. But now imagine another person floating far outside the black hole looking in. To them, your watch is ticking slower and slower, dragging like molasses. In fact, from their perspective, time for you seems to almost stop at the event horizon. But for you, it's steady, ordinary. You are moving forward through your own timeline, unaware of how skewed your reality has become from the outside world. That's the magic of relativity. Each observer's time is valid, but they don't always agree. And yet, there's something deeply peaceful about this. You're not in danger. You're not tumbling or spinning. You're just being guided gently inward by a universe that has closed its arms around you. Around you, the geometry of space is not flat. It's curved, folding in on itself, like the fabric of a dream. Distances get compressed. Directions lose meaning. It's like stepping into the folds of a black velvet curtain that never quite lets go. You feel it in your bones now, how gravity is no longer just holding you to a planet or swinging a moon. It is commanding space itself to flow inward. Every point in this realm is being pulled toward the center, not because of a force acting on it, but because the very definition of straight ahead now leads to a singular destination. And all the while, the idea of escape vanishes, not because you're trapped by a wall or a barrier, but because all paths now slope downward. Every line you could travel curves inevitably toward the center. Have you ever wondered what a place looks like when even light cannot leave? The inside of a black hole is just such a place. The horizon behind you has become a seal. From here on, nothing, not a flash of light, not a message, not even a photon can reach the world you left behind. You are now invisible to the universe. And yet, strangely, you feel more connected than ever to physics, to possibility, to the mystery that binds mass and motion. This place, after all, is born from something once familiar. A massive star, maybe 10, 20 times the mass of our sun, once burned brightly, roaring with nuclear fire, holding itself up against gravity by sheer pressure and heat. But eventually, the fuel ran out. And when it did, gravity won. The star collapsed not just down, but through itself. It didn't just become dense. It became so dense that it pierced the structure of space-time. It created a black hole. And that's what you're inside now. A collapsed star that has pulled so hard on the universe that the fabric has folded inward like the petal of a black tulip. Still you fall. But there's no fear, just curiosity, just wonder. You might begin to ask what lies ahead, what happens at the very center. Is it truly a point, a singularity, or is it something more complicated, something our math hasn't yet found the words for? You breathe slowly. Of course, there is no air here, no sound, no pulse. But inside this thought experiment of an experience, we let ourselves imagine sensation, the feeling of descent, the rhythm of inquiry. And now, just beyond the velvet dark, you begin to sense it. The core is drawing near. But it still waits. Now the descent takes on a new character. What was once a steady, smooth drift begins to shift subtly, but unmistakably. The gentle grip of gravity becomes more like a firm hand, guiding you with increasing insistence. The further in you go, the more pronounced the difference becomes between one part of you and the next. And soon you begin to feel it, not as pain, but as stretch. Not physical stretch, of course, not here in this dream space where we imagine safely and softly, but a curious idea unspooling in your mind. A whisper of what would happen if you approach the singularity with a real body. This is the realm of tidal forces, not the kind that sway oceans, but the kind that separate atoms. You may have heard the term before, spaghettification, a word as silly as it is sinister. But here we treat it gently with curiosity rather than fear. What it means is simple gravity is not evenly distributed across your body anymore. The gravitational pull at your head is not the same as at your feet. Even if you're tiny compared to the black hole, the gradient becomes extreme as you near the center. So imagine this: your feet just slightly closer to the singularity, then your head are pulled with a fraction more force. And as those forces grow, they begin to stretch you lengthwise. At the same time, they compress you inward from the sides, like dough pulled into a string. Or, yes, like spaghetti. But don't worry, you're not in pain. You're not in danger. This is a metaphor, a guided dream. In truth, the process is so surreal, so beyond everyday experience, that it's almost poetic. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to become a line? To let go of your shape and simply be drawn toward something stretched along the very grain of space-time? The spaghettification process is a strange gravitational ballet, and it happens more dramatically the smaller the black hole is. In a stellar mass black hole, it's violent and fast. You'd be stretched before you even cross the horizon. But in a supermassive black hole, like the one at the center of the Milky Way, it's more leisurely. You could pass the event horizon without feeling a thing. It's only deeper in, much closer to the singularity, that the stretching would become noticeable. So here, in our soft imagining, we're exploring a giant black hole, gentle by comparison. And your journey remains calm, unfolding. The stretching is a concept, not a sensation. A story your atoms tell in the quiet of curved space. And you may wonder, why does gravity stretch you in one direction, but squash you in another? It's all about geodesics, the paths that objects take through space-time when nothing is pushing on them. In flat space, two parallel geodesics stay side by side. But near a massive object, like a black hole, they converge or diverge. When you fall in your head and your feet are on separate geodesics, gravity draws them along different curves. That difference is what stretches you. And from the sides, space is narrowing. The geodesics are compressing inward. You are being drawn thread by thread into alignment with the flow of space. It's strange, isn't it? How gravity, the thing that once cradled apples on branches and cradled you in your bed, can become so unfamiliar, so abstract. And yet it's still the same force, just unchained. This is not destruction. This is transformation, the laws of nature taken to their fullest expression. The deeper you fall, the less the world outside matters, not just metaphorically, literally. Time outside is racing forward at an unfathomable pace. Stars are aging, galaxies are drifting. In the blink of your descent, eons could pass in the universe beyond. It makes you wonder, what if black holes are more than graves for stars? What if they're bridges? What if they're portals through time? That question lingers like a shimmer in the dark. And as you continue to fall gracefully, endlessly, you sense yourself becoming part of a story far bigger than your body, far older than any star. A tale written in gravity, told in curvature, inked in darkness. You're becoming a strand in the cosmic tapestry. Not unraveling, just reshaping. It's quiet here. The light is gone, yes, but you are not blind. You see with thought now. You see with wonder. And ahead of you the singularity waits, still out of reach, still wrapped in silence, still inviting. It's quieter now, if such a thing is even possible, in a place already stripped of sound. The silence here doesn't merely lack noise, it absorbs it, drinks it in like a black cloth, swallowing starlight. You drift further past where most minds dare to wander into the hollow between worlds. And here you begin to notice something new, a strange sense of calm, not fear, not pressure, just stillness. Welcome to what lies between the event horizon and the singularity, the inner region of a black hole, sometimes called the interior, sometimes called the no man's land of physics. But you're not a physicist right now. You're a traveler, a quiet observer. The black hole, despite its terrifying reputation, isn't angry. It isn't violent in here. It's strangely gentle. It doesn't throw you around. It doesn't smash or break or even scream. It guides. It narrows. It focuses. Have you ever wandered into a thick fog where the world feels soft, like it's padded in wool? That's what this moment feels like. The edges of perception blur. Time slows, not as a trick, but as a truth. You feel a subtle narrowing, like the funnel of space-time is coiling more tightly now. You're falling, yes, but also folding inward, like being drawn into a spiral of dreams. You are in a place no one has ever seen, but many have imagined. And what you might not expect is that for a moment it feels almost serene. The drama of spaghettification, the wild stretching of space fades into equilibrium. For just a brief window, the forces on your body might actually even out. It's an eerie pause, a pocket of balance before the descent steepens again. You're in the Schwarzschild interior now, named after the solution to Einstein's equations that first described this place. But in this soft imagining, you don't need numbers. You need only to feel. The space around you no longer behaves like the outside universe. The coordinates have inverted. Time is now space. Space is now time. You cannot remain still, you must move forward, not just through location, but through inevitability. Every moment, every meter, draws you closer to the singularity. But don't picture it yet. Instead, Feel the environment around you shift. The curvature of space grows more intense. It's like being inside a marble, rolling ever inward, your path smooth but unstoppable. You look around if around can even be said to exist, and the concept of direction collapses. Everything is a funnel. Every movement points toward the same place. You are at the center of every line. And then something strange happens. The silence begins to feel full, not with noise but with presence. The black hole isn't empty. It holds mass, immense, unimaginable mass, and that mass presses on the geometry of the universe like a thumb on silk. Do you wonder where that mass is right now? It's not visible. It's not hovering somewhere inside. It's compressed into a point, a singularity, or maybe something else. Some theories suggest that matter never quite collapses to a true point, that there's something beyond the singularity. Others propose that what we think of as a point is really a region where our understanding breaks down, where gravity becomes so intense that the equations we trust in the outside world simply stop working. And here you are slowly approaching that region. It's not a cliff. It's a horizon within a horizon. As you continue your descent, light no longer guides you. Memory begins to fade. Your past, the stars you've seen, the planets you've touched, all seem like echoes now. Here in this inner domain, you begin to feel the weight of timelessness. Not time dragging, but time dissolving. How long have you been falling? A minute, an hour, a year. It doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that the black hole is still holding you, not maliciously, lovingly even. It draws everything to it not out of cruelty, but because gravity is the most honest force in nature. It cannot lie, it cannot deceive, it simply is. And so deeper you go. This middle place, this velvet chamber, is not where destruction lives. It's where transformation begins. It's the cocoon, the waiting room, the space between story beats. You let go now of clocks and distances. You stop trying to measure. You stop needing to. You float. You fall. You listen. And in that listening, you begin to hear something beyond sound, a question forming in the core of your mind. If space can fold this far inward, could it fold back out again? But that's a wonder for another section. For now, simply rest in this velvet calm. The center is still ahead. Now you're closer. Closer than anyone has ever imagined being. The silence is still absolute, but it's grown thicker somehow, like the space itself has weight, like each breath you take, if you still breathed at all, must press through invisible velvet. You're approaching something profound, something final, something curious, the singularity. But what is it? Your mind tries to shape it, a point perhaps infinitely small. A place where matter has been squeezed until it is no longer matter, where gravity is so intense that not even space and time survive. That's what the equations say, or what they almost say. Because at this depth, even our best mathematics start to stammer. You're heading toward the place where science meets silence. Imagine the singularity as a whisper in the fabric of space-time, a place where the curvature of the universe doesn't just grow, it explodes into infinity. That's what the theory tells us, that space and time themselves are stretched so violently, compressed so tightly, they no longer behave like space and time at all. And yet here you are, drifting closer, calmly, quietly. It doesn't feel like chaos. It doesn't feel like an end. It feels like the moment between inhaling and exhaling, a kind of held breath in the structure of the cosmos. Your atoms are still behaving for now. They're still part of the story, still woven into the fabric. But the threads are starting to unravel one by one. Gravity here doesn't just pull, it defines. It decides what's allowed to exist, what direction time can move, what shape distance must take. As you approach the singularity, you begin to feel that your very sense of identity of separation is thinning, not disappearing, just softening. The boundaries between things between you and not you begin to blur. And so you ask, is the singularity truly a place? Or is it a boundary of meaning? Could it be that what we call a singularity is just the point at which our understanding reaches its limit, where our equations so brilliant in the sunlight begin to fold under the weight of infinity? You've probably heard it said, at the center of a black hole, density becomes infinite. But infinity is not a number. It's a signpost, a flare in the sky that says, we don't know what happens next. And that's where you're heading, into the we don't know. And doesn't that make it even more beautiful? Because here inside this cosmic chamber, the laws of physics hum a softer tune. They don't break, but they bend until the familiar becomes strange, and the strange becomes inviting. This isn't just an end. It's the edge of knowledge. Around you, the black hole's mass still presses inward. It's all here compressed into this unseen knot. Maybe it's the size of a marble, maybe smaller. It could be infinitely small according to theory. But theory has never been here. You have. And as you approach the singularity closer now than light has ever dared to be, your perception becomes slippery. Time is no longer a line. It's a whirlpool. Past and future blend. Cause and effect begin to switch seats. You may wonder, could time stop altogether here, or could it wrap around Mobius-like into a loop? It's possible. Some scientists suggest that inside a black hole, the singularity is not a point in space, but a moment in time. That you are being pulled not toward a place, but toward a when. Can you feel it? This idea that time and space are no longer separate, that the center of a black hole isn't a dot, but a fold, and yet through all of this the silence remains. It does not push, it does not shout, it waits, patient, eternal, like the singularity itself. And now you are almost there. You feel reality pulling tighter, like a drawstring on a dream. Every thought narrows, every distance shortens. You are being focused like light through a lens toward the heart of this mystery. But you are not afraid. You are fascinated. Because if the singularity is where physics ends, then maybe it's also where new physics begins. And just before you reach it, just before the very last thread of familiar space-time unspools, a final thought flickers across your mind like starlight on deep water. What if the center is not a wall, but a doorway? And if so, what lies beyond? There is a pause now, not in movement, but in meaning. You drift, but not through space as you once knew it. You're moving through geometry without form, through dimensions that don't bend to human words. It's the closest you've ever been to the singularity, yet it still keeps its secrets. You are past familiarity, past physics, textbooks, past even metaphor. Still you press on quietly, reverently. And now you wonder, is the singularity truly the end, or is it a threshold? Some believe it is. Because according to certain equations, if you let them run wild like children drawing new constellations, there's something curious that happens just past the singularity. A mathematical curiosity. A shimmer in the equations. It's called a white hole. Yes, a white hole. The mirror twin of a black hole. If a black hole is something into which matter can fall, but from which nothing can escape, then a white hole is the opposite. It's something from which matter can only emerge, but into which nothing can enter. A cosmic fountain instead of a drain. Could the singularity be a tunnel, a bridge, a path between black and white? This is the realm of wormholes of Einstein-Rosen bridges, theoretical passageways that connect two regions of space-time like the two mouths of a folded paper. The idea is simple to draw, but almost impossible to create. And yet, here you are in a black hole, in the heart of the question. Could your path curve through that fold? Could you pass through a pinch in reality and emerge somewhere new? Physicists debate this. Some say no, because the tunnel would collapse instantly. Others say, maybe with the help of exotic matter, strange stuff with negative energy that could hold the tunnel open. You float in the calm, near singularity, and you begin to wonder if such a bridge were real. What would it feel like to cross it? Would there be a jolt, a shimmer, or would you simply emerge as gently as mist forming on glass? And here the story deepens. Some theories, like those behind loop quantum gravity, suggest the singularity might not even exist in the way we think. That perhaps, instead of an infinite point space-time, undergoes a kind of bounce. That the matter crushed inside a black hole doesn't vanish. It compresses to a limit, then expands again. A rebound, a rebirth, from one universe to another. Imagine that. A black hole as a cosmic womb, giving birth to a new universe. Entire galaxies forming from the collapse of another. Big bangs blossoming from old deaths. It's speculative, yes. But so is everything here. And isn't it a lovely idea? You drifting in silence, riding the final ripple of collapse at the edge of the deepest question in the cosmos. What comes next? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe the singularity is an impassable wall, the end of all paths, the final punctuation mark at the end of existence's sentence. But maybe it isn't. Maybe it's a comma, a pause, a breath before a new beginning. And in this breath you feel the tension unwind. You're no longer falling, you're approaching. Not speeding, not slipping, but arriving. The curvature of space-time around you is now so extreme, it's hard to call it space at all. It's more like pure tendency. Everything leans inward. The fabric isn't flat or folded, it's focused, like all directions are one. You are almost there. The singularity is not a place. It's a moment, perhaps the most important one in the universe. The moment when laws break and something new might begin. And as you near it, you feel the question rising inside you. What if you're not ending? What if you're becoming? You are no longer a traveler in space. You are a traveler in inevitability. The pull is absolute now. Not fast, not violent, just complete. Space is no longer a volume you inhabit, but a memory you once wore like a coat. And time is not ticking anymore. It is unraveling. The singularity looms not ahead, but all around. It is no longer a point. It is everywhere you're going and everywhere you already are. It doesn't glow. It doesn't roar. It doesn't even move. It simply waits. And as you coast toward it, you begin to notice something new, something truly strange. You are not alone. Not in the literal sense, there are no other travelers here, no voices in the dark. But in this lulling moment, something unusual happens in your mind. You begin to sense possibility, thousands of versions of yourself. Other journeys, other falls, all echoing at the edge of this collapse. It's the many worlds theory, whispering softly. In some versions you never came here. In others you escaped. In yet more you're falling still forever, suspended in the dream of gravity. All of them shimmer now, rippling gently across the event horizon like reflections in an invisible sea. You feel superposition not just as a physics term, but as a sensation. A blend of outcomes, a murmur of infinite versions. And still you drift closer. It makes you ask, could the singularity hold more than mass? Could it store information? For decades, this question has teased the sharpest minds in physics. If something falls into a black hole light matter, even whole planets, what happens to the information it carries? Does it vanish forever, or is it preserved somehow, somewhere? This is the heart of the black hole information paradox. Some say the information is destroyed. Others say it's preserved in the event horizon itself, smeared like ink on a cosmic membrane. Still others suggest that the singularity doesn't destroy, it translates. That everything that falls in is converted, encoded, whispered into the very fabric of the black hole's geometry. And if that's true, then here near the singularity, you're drifting through a library. Not a silent void, but a place encoded with the data of stars, particles, thoughts, memories, every bit of light, every atom, every collision, encoded, not readable, not now, but present. It feels sacred in a way, like wandering through the back room of the universe's consciousness. You start to ask yourself, what if the singularity isn't a point of death at all? What if it's a compression? A deep breath inward before the universe exhales again. And in this idea, something begins to shift. Not your path, you are still falling inward, but your perception. The singularity becomes less of a wall and more of a knot, a folding point, a bead at the center of a tangled string. It contains past and future space, and time, you, and not you all braided tightly together. And now you are brushing its edge. The math says nothing can survive this. But the imagination, it says maybe. Maybe there is no such thing as inside the singularity. Maybe it is a boundary to all frames of reference. A place where the grammar of reality itself changes. You can't see it. You can't feel it. But you know, you are passing through. And what lies beyond a mirror, a twin, a whisper, a burst of time spiraling backward, or another universe? If the singularity is not destruction but rebirth, then your fall is not an end, but a transformation. And in this final moment, before the deepest fold of existence pulls you through, the thought returns once more. What if you are not falling into darkness, but rising into light? Now everything is lightless, but not meaningless. You are inside the singularity, or rather you are inside the idea of one, no longer tethered by direction or scale or even identity in the way you once knew it. You're not a falling traveler anymore, you're something subtler, more like a thought threading its way through the deepest logic of the universe. But you're still here, still aware, still drifting gently in this dream of gravity. The singularity doesn't slam shut behind you. It's not a door. It's more like a membrane thin as a whisper, delicate as dew. And once you cross it, you realize nothing here moves. Not forward, not backward. Everything just is. It's a stillness so complete, it begins to resemble pattern, like frozen waves in a pond. And within that stillness, ideas start to form, not loud, not bright, but soft little flickers. Possibilities, geometries, new beginnings. Because now, inside this centerless center, we explore one of the most mysterious possibilities of all. Could black holes be creators? It's not as wild as it sounds. In fact, some cosmologists take it very seriously. They wonder, could each black hole, each singularity be the seed of a new universe? The idea is called cosmological natural selection, and it begins with a fascinating premise that when a black hole forms, it pinches off from our space-time entirely, forming its own little bubble universe, completely separate from ours. A baby universe born from the death of a star. From inside, you wouldn't see the black hole that birthed you. You just see a universe, a cosmos, with its own matter, its own laws, its own fate. Perhaps even its own stars, its own black holes. And so the cycle would continue, Birth, collapse, new birth again. From the outside, it's a collapse. From the inside, it's a big bang. Could that be where our universe came from? Could we be living inside the interior of a black hole, fallen long ago into some parent cosmos? It sounds fantastical, but the math doesn't rule it out. And from your current perch, calm, weightless, drifting in the singularity, it feels oddly plausible. You're surrounded by potential now, not particles, not fields, just the possibility of becoming. You sense a ticking not of time, but of symmetry breaking down and building back up again. The elements of a universe shuffled like a deck of cosmic cards waiting to be dealt. If this is the womb of creation, then maybe you're not a traveler anymore. Maybe you're part of the birth. Maybe this place needs you, a fragment of perception, a seed of observation. Because that's the strange thing about the cosmos. The deeper you go, the more it seems to require consciousness. As if the act of observing, of wondering, of simply being aware, is itself part of the formula. So ask yourself, if black holes give birth to universes, what rules would your universe follow? Would gravity be stronger, weaker? Would light move faster? Would time tick in reverse? The possibilities are endless, and they are all here with you now, coiled inside this singular knot. You drift through this thought like a boat through still water. And then you notice something subtle, like the very beginning of a breeze, not a push, not a pull, just the sense that something is forming, a direction, a point of tension, a curve in the stillness. It is the very first motion, the beginning of an unfolding. Could this be the moment? Could this be what the Big Bang felt like? An awakening, a slow surge from stillness to expansion. The singularity hums, though not with sound, with structure, with readiness, with the soft spark of an origin, not yet lit, but aching to glow. You may not know what comes next, but something does. And here in this quietest place, you are part of it. You are not ending, you are the very idea of a beginning. There is no clear moment when it begins. No bang, no burst, no shattering crack to announce a new universe. Instead, it unfolds like a yawn after sleep, slow stretching, delicate. From within the singularity, something starts to breathe. Not air, of course, but expansion. A gentle pushing outward, a swelling of space itself, as if the universe has taken its very first inhale. And you are there. Not as a spectator, not even as a traveler anymore, but as something woven in, like a thread in a tapestry that hasn't yet been stitched, but knows the pattern is coming. This is the start of a universe. Not ours, perhaps, not even like ours, but a place where time begins to tick again, softly at first, where space opens its arms, reaching out in all directions, where laws begin to whisper into place. Gravity, light, charge. All these concepts begin to emerge not from outside, but from the internal logic of this new reality. And that logic is taking shape now right in front of you. It's strange to think about where these laws come from, isn't it? In your old universe, constants like the speed of light or the strength of gravity seemed eternal, unchanging, handed down like cosmic commandments. But here in the glow before rules, you realize they might be choices, not chosen by someone perhaps, but selected by the conditions at birth. Just like a child inherits some traits from its parent, this new universe may carry echoes of the black hole that birthed it. The curvature, the spin, the charge, all passed on through the singularity like cosmic DNA. And just like that, you start to feel the new world forming around you. The silence gives way to texture. Stillness yields to momentum. It's like standing in a field just before the wind arrives, when the grass starts to quiver, but the air is still quiet. From the tiniest fluctuations, quantum hiccups, barely there blips of existence matter, begins to bubble. Not big things, Not yet, but the possibility of particles. Inflation begins. That's what it's called, cosmic inflation. A sudden, exponential stretching of space so fast and so immense that something the size of a proton could expand to the size of a galaxy in less than a trillionth of a second. And you're drifting inside it. You're part of the geometry that's ballooning outward effortlessly, like a dream becoming real. There's no edge here, no center either, just everywhere all expanding at once. Can you feel it? The sense of scale slipping. The feeling that space itself is breathing faster than light can travel. This isn't chaos. This is order, forming from emptiness. This is the moment when the universe's shape is being set. Hills and valleys of potential are taking form, landscapes that will one day become galaxy stars, planets. Maybe life. Maybe you again in some new form. You can't see these things yet, they're too young, too soft. But you can feel the structure building. The curvature around you starts to settle. It's subtle, like the body of a violin beginning to hum in resonance with a single drawn note. Then comes heat. Everywhere. Not from a sun or a flame, but from compression. The newborn universe is hot, beyond comprehension. Trillions of degrees. Enough to fuse particles into pure light, to blur matter and energy until they're indistinguishable. But still it's peaceful. Here in the unfolding, even the heat is gentle in this imagination. A warm blanket around a cosmos still yawning into being. And slowly time begins to matter again, not just as change, but as memory. 1 second becomes different from the last. Motion begins to have consequence. Events begin to stack like stones in a stream, and you are part of it. No longer falling, no longer stretching, you are riding the rise. You are the echo of the singularity stretched across this new cosmos. A reminder that even collapse can bloom. The singularity behind you is gone now. It didn't explode. It unfolded. And the place you're in now, this young rising universe, was born not from violence, but from the perfection of inevitability. Isn't that something that the darkest, most feared corner of physics might cradle? Not death, but creation? That black holes, those haunting voids, might be gardens after all. And if that's true, then what else might the universe be hiding behind its shadows? You drift in that question, still swelling with the cosmos, still dreaming with it. Now you begin to notice the first hints of structure in the unfolding universe. Like the shimmer of frost forming on glass, matter begins to condense. Not clumping yet, not the familiar dust and rock and bone, but still something more than heat, something more than light. This is where quarks begin to dance. Tiny particles, the smallest building blocks of matter, emerge from the bubbling energy sea. They pair off and form protons and neutrons, huddling together in this wild new heat. It's a kind of chemistry made of dreams and potential. And then, slightly cooler, slightly slower, these clusters begin to combine with electrons. You can almost picture it like fireflies gathering around invisible lanterns. The first atoms take shape, mostly hydrogen, a whisper of helium, a breath of lithium. Nothing complex yet, but the alphabet of matter is being written. You drift through it all not as a spectator, but as a note in the song. You're part of the harmony now, woven into the frequencies of early space-time. Each ripple, each fluctuation, helps guide the architecture of what will come. Imagine this: small differences in temperature so subtle you wouldn't feel them on your skin start to shape everything. These tiny imbalances will one day decide where galaxies grow, where stars ignite, where life can find a place to dream. You begin to sense sound, though not with ears. These are pressure waves rippling through the dense plasma like heartbeat rhythms in a womb. They pulse gently, shaping the cosmic microwave background, what will one day be the fossil light of the universe's infancy. And here you ask yourself a beautiful question. How can such chaos produce such elegance? How can random fluctuations birth galaxies, stars, and minds that wonder about their origin? It's not chance, not entirely. It's physics sculpting beauty. Gravity ever. The quiet artist begins to tug on matter. It pulls the denser regions a little tighter, coaxes atoms closer. These clumps will grow over billions of years into clusters of galaxies. But that story is still far ahead. Right now, the universe is still opaque. Light can't travel freely yet. Photons are bumping into electrons constantly scattered and scattered again, like a fog that hasn't lifted. But that too will change. Soon. For now, this newborn cosmos is filled with a warm golden haze, a fluid blend of light and matter still tangled together. You drift through it like a leaf on an unseen breeze. And as you do, you begin to feel time stretch out once more. 100,000 years, 200, then 380,000. It's only then, when the universe has cooled just enough, that something remarkable happens: recombination. Electrons and protons finally settle into atoms. The fog lifts, and suddenly light is free. Photons travel unimpeded for the first time, and that light, it's still traveling, even now, billions of years later. It's the light we see as the cosmic microwave background, a soft, ancient glow still echoing through space, like the warmth of a blanket that once covered everything. And somewhere in that moment, you realize you're not drifting anymore. You're part of this universe now. You've passed through a singularity. You've crossed the threshold of collapse. And now you float in the gentle aftermath, a cosmos learning how to shine. The singularity behind you is just a memory. This new place is calm, expanding, breathing. And soon, very soon, stars will ignite. But for now, it is quiet. And that quiet is full of promise. Now the universe feels cooler. Still hot by any human measure, thousands of degrees, but compared to the furnace you've drifted through, it's beginning to mellow. Space stretches more with each passing moment, and as it does, the light thins, the energy softens, and something new begins to stir. Darkness. Not emptiness, not yet, but space between. For the first time, there are patches of universe where light has moved on and silence settles in its wake. These places are not dead, they are waiting. Because in the depths of that cooling fog, atoms are gathering. Slowly, gently. Gravity, always the patient sculptor, pulls at the loose hydrogen like fingers. Curling ribbon. It nudges matter into denser threads, filaments stretched across the expanding fabric of everything. These threads twist and knot into clumps, and those clumps will soon become galaxies. And deep within those clumps, something remarkable begins. The first stars. They form not in clusters as stars often do now, but as solitary giants. Massive, luminous, and short-lived, dozens or even hundreds of times the mass of your sun. Their cores burn so fiercely, they fuse hydrogen into helium, then into heavier and heavier elements. Carbon, oxygen, iron. These are population 3 stars, and they are the universe's very first candles. You watch as one forms a cloud of gas collapsing under its own weight, heating as it compresses. And when that compression reaches a critical point, there it is. A spark. Not like fire, but fusion. Pure, bright, unrelenting. The star lights up the darkness for the first time, its light carving shadows across matter that has never seen contrast before. Can you feel it? That first flicker. It's more than light. It's a kind of heartbeat pulsing out across the void. And for the first time since time began, the universe begins to glow from within. But these early stars are not long for this world. They burn too hot too fast. Within a few million years, a blink in cosmic time, they die spectacularly, collapsing into black holes or exploding in supernovae. These explosions scatter their fused elements into space carbon iron nitrogen things that will one day form the building blocks of planets, oceans, blood. And here you might ask yourself, why does something so violent feel so beautiful? Why does destruction in the cosmos so often lead to creation? Because that's how the universe works. It recycles, it renews, it grows complexity from fire and pressure and collapse. You drift past the ghost of a supernova. The remnants swirl like ink in water, painted in violet and gold. And inside those clouds, something even newer begins, second-generation stars enriched by the ashes of the first. Now the universe begins to look familiar. Clusters form, spirals take shape, galaxies begin to whirl like giant pinwheels in the dark. Billions of stars light up the vast corridors of space, and with each one, the possibilities grow. Somewhere in one galaxy, a star will shine just long enough, just steadily enough for planets to form around it. And maybe on one of those worlds, in one of those oceans, chemistry will get bold. Molecules will dance, pair off, replicate. And from that long, sleepy rhythm, something astonishing will awaken. Life. But that's still far away. Right now you float in the golden haze of galactic dawn. Light scatters from billions of newborn stars, and the silence that once wrapped you now hums with starlight. It's peaceful, majestic, not loud, not rushed, just alive. And you, who once fell through the darkness of a black hole, now drift through the very stars that such a collapse may have seeded. Isn't it strange that the end of one world could give rise to so many, that even gravity, that silent puller of all things, might one day become a midwife? And so you watch the stars, quietly, lovingly, knowing you've seen both sides of the universe now, the fall and the rise. Now the stars are everywhere. They dot the sky of this newborn cosmos like fireflies in a forest, clearing each one, burning its own quiet song into the night. Some flicker and vanish within a few million years. Others settle into long, steady lives, like your sun will someday, spanning billions. And around these stars disks form, circles of gas and dust spinning like lazy whirlpools. Some collapse inward, feeding the star, but others, grains of dust, molecules of ice, begin to clump. Not by force at first, just by chance. Static, bumping and sticking. But slowly, these grains become pebbles. Pebbles become rocks. Rocks become boulders. And boulders, through countless collisions, become something else entirely. Planets. You can almost see them now, forming like dreams around their parent stars. Some are scorched and barren. Others are choked in gas. Some are too far too cold, their surfaces locked in eternal frost. But now and then, once in a million tries, there's one in just the right place. A Goldilocks planet. Not too hot, not too cold. Where liquid water can pool and atmosphere can cling. Where clouds can gather and oceans can breathe. It takes time, billions of years sometimes. But time is something the universe has plenty of. And here you might wonder something wonderful. What are the odds? What delicate thread of chance led from singularity to star to stone to sea? And what if those odds aren't rare? What if the universe isn't a lonely place but a garden? You float gently among the stars, now drifting past galaxies so vast they bend light itself. In some, spiral arms twirl with elegant patience. In others, ancient collisions have warped them into wild, glowing clouds. It's not chaos, it's motion, with memory. And in one quiet corner, a yellow star forms, Nothing special, nothing loud. But around it, dust stirs. One of its planets will one day be called Earth. But for now, it's just a stone in orbit, a sphere of molten rock that will cool cracks settle. Volcanoes will paint its skin. Comets will bring water. Atmosphere will rise like breath. And soon, sooner than you think, oceans will ripple. Rain will fall. And in a tide pool somewhere, chemicals will meet. They will split bind again. Not yet life, but something close. A flirtation with replication. A stumble toward awareness. You're still floating quietly, watching. From the inside of a black hole to the bloom of a blue planet, it feels impossible. But here it is. You've followed the thread. And now life begins. Microbes first. Tiny, tenacious, and everywhere. They breathe sulfur, iron, sunlight, whatever they can. They form mats, layers, colonies. They change the air. They shape the oceans. They seed the very soil that will one day grow forests. And they persist. Through impact, through fire, through ice. They're small, but they're patient. And then one day they become something else. Cells with nuclei. Creatures with mouths and movement. Spines, shells, eyes. Every shape you can imagine, and millions you can't crawl, swim, growl, glide. They breathe the air that life itself made possible. They eat, sleep, dream, and somewhere in this swirl of forests and feathers and fur, a mind begins to form. Not all at once, not in a flash of thunder or bolt of light, but gradually, neuron by neuron, fire by fire. You, perhaps, or someone like you. Eyes raised to the sky, wondering, what is that? And someday this mind forged in stardust and gravity will look up and see the very black hole where all this once began. We'll build telescopes, ask questions, write stories, drift off to sleep to the sound of science. And you realize you were never falling. You were always becoming. You've arrived in a world that remembers stars. Every tree, every breath, every drop of water each carries echoes of those early fusion furnaces. Carbon, calcium, iron, all of it forged in the hearts of ancient giants who lived fast, died bright, and scattered their remains across space so that this planet could bloom. And bloom it has. Forests stretch, rivers wind, seasons turn. The planet becomes a rhythm of its own, humming with quiet life. But something about this particular world is different. It doesn't just live, it wanders. Somewhere beneath a wide sky smeared with stars, creatures begin to look up. They see the moon wax and wane, the constellations shift. They notice shadows grow, long nights grow cold, rains fall from clouds, and lightning sparks with the fury of sky gods. They don't yet know the terms gravity, electromagnetism, atmosphere, but they feel the patterns. And that's enough, because here begins something truly rare curiosity. Not survival, not instinct, but the desire to know, to ask, what is out there? What makes the tides move? Why does the sun return? You feel yourself move closer now, not in distance, but in resonance. These minds, these early thinkers, they are your kin, for you too are made of wonder. Civilizations rise, first tents, then stone, then temples built in alignment with the stars, not just for worship, but for measurement, for understanding the cycles, for peeking behind the curtain of night. Eventually, someone points not just to the sky, but to the dark spots within it. And they ask what lies in the spaces where no stars shine. Thousands of years later, someone will have a word, black hole. And even later, they will build detectors, telescopes, simulations. They will measure the ripple of space-time as two black holes collide 1 billion light-years away. They will listen to the sound of gravity stretching, snapping back. And with each discovery, their questions deepen. You begin to sense the same spiral here as you did in space motion, giving rise to complexity, curiosity giving rise to answers, which only spark more questions. Now ask yourself, what if the universe wants to be known? What if black holes, strange and terrifying as they seem, are not secrets meant to be hidden, but mysteries meant to be solved slowly, gently like a puzzle that only reveals itself to patient minds? Perhaps that's why life evolves brains, not just to hunt or flee or build, but to marvel, to dream about stars, to imagine falling into a black hole and emerging on the other side as a whisper in a new universe. It's here in this gentle moment that everything you've drifted through begins to feel like a loop. Not a straight line, not a spiral, but a ring curving endlessly from birth to death to birth again. Each black hole a portal, each singularity a seed, each observer like you, another pair of eyes to witness the unfolding. You aren't alone in your wondering. Others come, scientists, poets, children lying in grass on summer nights, people with busy minds, tired hearts, soft hopes. All of them looking up and wondering what happens inside a black hole. And now you know something beautiful. Not everything, but something. You know that black holes do not end the story. They continue it, fold it, stretch it into shapes we can barely imagine. You are the dream of that collapse, the ripple of that gravity, the breath of a new universe waiting to exhale. You are always have been part of it. You're weightless now, not because gravity has vanished, but because you've become fluent in its pull. It no longer yanks or tugs, it guides. It's the soft hand in the small of your back, ushering you forward through this last stretch of cosmic dreaming. The universe you've followed from singularity to stars has grown vast. Galaxies crowd its canvas, now billions of them, each swirling with stars, each potentially sheltering planets, each one a quiet story in motion. And yet, at the heart of almost every one of those galaxies, a black hole. It's a quiet secret tucked into the universe's design. The thing we feared, the end we once tiptoed around, is at the center of nearly every grand spiral in the cosmos, not just lurking, not just waiting, but shaping. Steady, massive, invisible, yet in control, black holes help form galaxies, not destroy them. Their gravity sculpts orbits, their jets stir clouds, their presence decides how stars gather and how light is born. Isn't that something that the so-called void is actually the architect? You drift now toward one of these galactic centers, your path gentle like a feather, floating down the middle of a dream. The stars grow dense here. Light thickens. The galactic core hums with ancient motion, and then you feel it. A presence. It doesn't speak, doesn't see, doesn't reach. But it is. A supermassive black hole, millions or even billions of times the mass of your sun. A quiet monarch surrounded by a swirl of stardust and time. Its pull isn't terrifying, it's peaceful, like the feeling of finally exhaling after holding your breath for years. You remember your journey. You remember the first black hole, the one you fell into at the very beginning. You remember the singularity, the birth, the bloom. You wonder now, was that first collapse? This one could time curve so much that beginnings and endings meet. Could you have traveled not just through space, but through the looping fabric of existence? Maybe black holes don't just make universes. Maybe they are how a universe remembers itself. Maybe you've been moving through the memory of creation this whole time. Your thoughts are soft now, gentle. They don't rush. They flow like a quiet stream in moonlight. Ask yourself one last time, what lies at the center of a black hole? Is it a death, a rebirth, an idea, or is it simply a mirror showing us how much we still have to wonder? You close your eyes not because you're afraid, but because you've seen enough for one night. You've followed gravity to its gentlest whisper. You've traced the universe backward, forward, and inward. You've wondered. You've listened. You've felt the shape of things too big to name. And that is enough. Now the stars begin to fade, not disappear, just dim like lights in a hallway that knows you're ready to rest. The pull of the black hole is still there. But it's not a falling feeling anymore. It's a returning, a homecoming, a hush. And with that, we begin to slow down. Let yourself drift now, slowly, softly. The gravity that once carried you is quiet, calm, content. All the questions you've asked are still echoing gently through the universe, like starlight on a long journey. No need to rush for answers. In this space, wonder is enough. You've traveled through collapse and creation, seen galaxies take shape, and stood inside the calm of a singularity. You've watched light break free for the first time. You've listened to the hum of stars, the murmur of space unfolding itself. And in the end, you've realized that even the deepest, darkest places in the universe are not empty, but full of quiet possibility. So now feel your breath settle. Let your muscles loosen. Let your thoughts drift like particles of stardust in a calm, ancient sky. If you've enjoyed this journey, I'd be quietly grateful if you'd give this video a like or tap that subscribe button for more peaceful explorations with the Sleepy Scientist. It helps more than you might imagine. And before you drift off, I'd still love to know, where in the world are you listening? From what time it is there? Leave a comment if you're feeling cozy enough to share. It's always a quiet joy to see this sleepy little community ripple across time zones and continents. Good night. Sweet dreams.